It was 2:47 a.m. when the notification popped up on Lisa Morgan's phone. Motion detected at front door. Half asleep, she blinked at the screen, debating whether to check the footage or ignore it. It was probably a stray cat or the wind nudging a branch. But the uneasy weight in her gut told her to look. She tapped the notification, and the video feed loaded. A man stood on her front porch, completely still. The porch light cast harsh shadows across his face, but she could make out the hollow look in his eyes. His clothes were dirty, his hands twitching at his sides, as if he was struggling to keep them still. Her breath caught in her throat. He wasn't ringing the bell. He wasn't knocking. He was just standing there, staring directly into the camera. Then he spoke. "I killed her," he whispered. Lisa's blood ran cold. "I killed her," the man repeated, his voice hoarse but eerily calm. "She's under the hydrangeas in your backyard." Her heart pounded against her ribs. Was this some kind of sick joke? Some drugged-out lunatic? Then, as if realizing something, the man's expression twisted with panic. He took a step forward. "I'm sorry," he choked out, his voice rising. "I didn't mean to." The video cut off as the feed timed out. Lisa sat frozen, phone clenched in her hands. The room around her felt too dark, too silent. Then, another notification. Motion detected at front door. He was still there. Lisa reached for her nightstand drawer, fumbling for the small handgun her father had insisted she keep when she moved into the house alone. With shaking fingers, she called emergency services. "What's your emergency?" "There's a man on my porch," she whispered. He's talking about a murder. He said there's a body in my backyard. "Are you in a safe place?" the operator asked. "I'm inside. Doors locked. Stay on the line. Officers are being dispatched to your address now. Do not engage with the suspect." Lisa wasn't planning on it. She forced herself to glance at the screen again. The man was gone. Lisa sucked in a shaky breath. The street was empty, the porch light flickering slightly. She tapped through the footage, rewinding. There. He had turned suddenly, stumbling back down the porch steps, vanishing into the darkness. The backyard. She swallowed hard. Was he still out there? Minutes crawled by until the distant wail of sirens cut through the silence. Red and blue lights flashed against her walls as 2 patrol cars pulled up in front of her house. She hurried to unlock the door, heart hammering, as 2 officers stepped out. One of them, Officer Grayson, was a broad-shouldered man in his late 40s with graying hair. "Ma'am, are you the one who called?" Lisa nodded rapidly. "He was right here. He said he killed someone, that there was a body buried in my backyard." The second officer, Ramirez, exchanged a look with Grayson before turning on her radio. "Dispatch, we're going to need backup and forensics at this location." Lisa led them to the backyard, every shadow seeming deeper, every rustling leaf making her nerves spike. The hydrangea bushes stood in the corner, their leaves shifting slightly in the breeze. Grayson shone his flashlight over the soil. His expression darkened, freshly turned dirt. Lisa felt like the world was tilting beneath her. Within an hour, her backyard became a crime scene. Within an hour, her backyard became a crime scene. More officers arrived, along with forensic specialists who began carefully digging beneath the hydrangeas. Lisa stood off to the side, wrapped in a blanket one of the officers had given her, numb and shivering despite the warm night air. Then a shout. "We've got something." The ground gave way to the edge of a garbage bag, and then bones. Lisa's stomach lurched. The officers worked methodically, uncovering the remains. A human skeleton, wrapped tightly in plastic, lay beneath the bushes. Forensics confirmed it wasn't recent, at least a decade old, if not more. Grayson turned to Lisa, his expression unreadable. "Do you know anything about this?" She shook her head violently. No. I bought this house 2 years ago. I swear, I had no idea. The officers didn't seem to think she was a suspect, but they still asked her to come down to the station to give an official statement. By sunrise, the body had been carefully removed, and Lisa sat in a brightly lit interrogation room, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee she wasn't drinking. "We ran the prints," Ramirez said, sliding into the chair across from her. "The remains belong to a woman named Melissa Hart, reported missing in 2009. Lisa's mouth felt dry. "Who was she?" Ramirez hesitated. "She lived in this house." Lisa's breath hitched. "She was reported missing by her fiancé, Daniel Grant." Ramirez slid over a photo. A smiling woman, mid-20s, arm wrapped around a man. Lisa recognized him immediately. The man from her porch. Wait. That's him. She gasped. "That's the guy from the doorbell camera." Ramirez's expression darkened. "That's not possible." Lisa's pulse pounded in her ears. "What do you mean?" Ramirez exhaled. "Daniel Grant died in 2012. Suicide. Left a note confessing to Melissa's murder, but they never found her body." Lisa felt like she'd been plunged into ice water. "That doesn't make sense," she whispered. "I saw him. He was here." Ramirez stood, adjusting her belt. "We'll review the footage again, but I think you should get some rest, Miss Morgan." When she got home, she hesitated before opening the doorbell app. She replayed the footage. There he was. The man. Daniel Grant. She swallowed hard and scrolled to the time-stamped security log. Her fingers turned to ice. No motion detected. The video log didn't exist. Her hands trembled as she turned off her phone. In the backyard, the hydrangeas swayed in the wind, their roots no longer hiding a terrible secret. And somewhere, whether in this world or beyond, Daniel Grant had finally kept his promise. Melissa had been found, and he was gone.